Hey there and welcome back to Rimworld. My name is Pete and today we complete the 25th episode of our Rimworld Ice Sheet Survival series. And we start things off today by smoothing a few missing tiles of hallway. A thank you goes out to Matthew Brown for reminding me of that. The unsmooth tiles here just cause an unnecessary drop in the beauty stat, and we can easily fix that and make our base look a tiny bit nicer. As Cambiar has just consumed the final simple meal in storage, we will also continue with cooking right away. A few simple meals made out of rice should keep Cambiar fat for the next few days. On the next morning then, it is time for another small improvement. For the cost of 200 steel, we can build a tool cabinet, which increases the work speed of all workbenches nearby. Now, the increase is only by 6% and it also does not affect our stove. Still, with the tool cabinet installed, butchering, tailoring and disassembling Mechanoid corpses should all happen a tiny bit faster. Now, spending the 200 steel has also left us with only 7 units in reserve, so we should probably acquire some more. After all, Randy Random is an unpredictable companion, and I think it's better to have steel on hand and not needed, than to need it desperately and have nothing stored away. The ship chunk here leaves us with both steel and components. The components will now be hauled back by Cambiar as they suffer from deterioration while left outside, while the steel remains a task for the Huskies. Now, the day is still young and honestly 30 units of steel from the ship chunk is not much, so let's send Cambiar out on a small mining expedition. I have found what is hopefully going to be a sizable steel deposit to the north of the base, where Cambiar can now start mining away. And as usual, our 3 Huskies will take care of the hauling. Alright then, it is now late evening. Cambiar has mined out quite a bit of steel. The deposit, however, still has some reserves, so we might very well return here at a later point in the playthrough. For the moment, we already have more than 300 units in storage. Both Cambiar and the Huskies are also still hauling stuff back, and indeed, as we see everyone head off to bed here, our steel reserves are now up to 562 units, which I think should be more than enough for the next few projects. Speaking of the next projects, one of them starts immediately on the next morning, and it is once again only a small productivity improvement. To start us off, Cambiar will now deconstruct both the hand-tailoring bench and the simple research bench. Both of those are no longer needed and will provide us with additional steel. In place of the hand-tailoring bench, we will then build ourselves an electric tailoring bench, which of course consumes electricity, but also allows Cambiar to do tailoring work much faster. And much faster in this case is definitely not an understatement. The electric tailoring bench works twice as fast as the hand tailoring bench, and the newly constructed tool cabinet of course also gives a further increase in productivity. With everything constructed, it is now once again time to bring in the harvest. Our rice plants have perfect timing today, as they have finished growing in the early morning, and with human meat being a rare commodity these days, we could definitely use some more rice. After harvesting everything, Cambiar is then just about to start replanting, as a poorly timed solar flare hits the ice sheet. This now shuts down all of our electrical equipment, and that includes our hydroponics farm, so the seeds Cambiar just sowed will die very quickly, and our options for productive work are also severely limited at the moment. Apart from a bit of hauling, there is one more thing we can do, however, and that is butchering a few more dead wargs. We still have quite a few corpses left in our storage room. The Huskies still have a bit of pemmican left, but they could use some fresh supplies, so we will have Cambiar chop up just a few corpses here to make us some meat. Three corpses, however, is more than enough for the moment, and so we can see Cambiar spend his evening outside playing hoopstone, before he then eventually heads off to bed. However, he's not going to get much sleep just yet, because it seems like a small herd of muffalo has wandered into the area, and well, I sincerely believe that you can never have enough meat out on the ice sheet, so let's wake Cambiar up again and send him out on a hunting trip. Very conveniently, on his way over, the solar flare also comes to an end, but for Cambiar that doesn't really matter at the moment, as he is already busy shooting some muffalo. And as expected, we have now triggered a muffalo revenge. That means the herd is now in manhunter mode, so for Cambiar it is now probably a good time to retreat. On our way back to the base, we will of course try to land a few more shots. Thanks to Cambiar's jogger trait, he does move a bit faster than the Muffalos, and that is actually enough already to kill the first of them, before Cambiar then eventually hides behind the safety of his outer door. Just as a security measure, we will now also tell the Huskies to stay inside of the base. Normally they don't wander out too far outside of the base, but especially since one of them is pregnant again, I don't want to risk anything. As usual, the Muffalos start beating on the door. Cambiar starts the repair, and while he does, we have a merchant coming in. And since the Muffalos have gone manhunter and won't leave anytime soon, we will let them roam around for a moment and see what the merchant has to offer. Okay everyone, this right here is a big moment, because the merchant here has 3 colonists for sale. Now the first 2 are not all that interesting, the third one however has caught my eye and I'll show you why. First of all, Cobra here is only 18 years young, and with that in peak physical condition, and that also won't change anytime soon. A look at Cobra's skills reveals nothing overly exciting, but still a well-rounded set of abilities. Being only 18 years young, Cobra only has the childhood background, and that gives him very useful bonuses to shooting, melee and growing. We also have a bit of a penalty to intellectual here, but that is Cambiar's area of expertise anyway. Very important also, Cobra here has no incapabilities, so just like Cambiar, he can be an all-rounder and take care of everything, and not only that, he can also do so with increased speed due to the industrious trait. The 35% work speed increase here is fantastic. The night owl trait at the same time is really not that big of a problem. Cobra simply needs to sleep during the day and be awake at night, and he even gets a mood boost for that. So the trait here might even be a good way to keep his mood in check. So even though Cobra here is not a cannibal, I think he is a very well suited addition to the colony. Health-wise, he also has no issues, so he is perfectly healthy, and like I said, due to his age, he will likely remain that way. And that is why in our 25th episode we are finally adding another colonist. Honestly, not in the way I had imagined it to happen, but regardless, for 1,640 silver we buy Cobra here off the slave market. However, he will now join the colony as a free man. Now, with Cobra in the colony, we need to take care of a few things immediately. First of all, it's the middle of autumn and we have minus 47 degrees in the base, so Cobra needs some warm clothing. We can see here Cobra's minimum comfortable temperature is way up at 7 degrees. He is only wearing a button-down shirt and a pair of pants, both of shoddy quality, and out on the ice sheet that is definitely not enough. To accommodate for the night owl trait, I've also quickly set Cobra's sleep schedule, which now has him rest at exactly those hours the trait specifies. Cobra's room will be the one on the left here, but we'll make that a bit bigger in just a few moments. Now Cobra needs clothing, and that is the first priority here for Cambiar. With the new electric tailoring bench, Cambiar will now make a parka for his companion, and will use alpaca wool for that, which we conveniently have just enough of. Cobra meanwhile will get himself ready for action, as he now equips an armor vest and an assault rifle. With that we have the basics for attack and defense settled, and we will even get him a dead man's jacket here for the moment. He won't like to wear it and it won't offer much protection, but I imagine at this point every little bit helps. Now Cobra's minimum comfortable temperature is now down to minus 11 degrees, which is still far from enough to survive out on the ice sheet or in our base for that matter. There is however one place in our base that we can send him without issues, and that is our nicely heated hydroponics farm. So to get us started here, Cobra will sow some new rice seeds. At around 10 o'clock in the morning then the hydroponics farms are filled again. Keep in mind that Cambiar has not slept at all yet, and I was about to introduce Cobra here to a bit of hunting. However, it won't come to that just yet, because our trait beacon has broken down. Just like Cambiar though, Cobra is quick on the scene and can fix the issue without much trouble, and now thanks to his night owl trait it is actually high time for him to head off to bed. Conveniently enough, we already have a small heater in his bedroom, so just to keep the hypothermia at bay we'll set that to minus 6 degrees for the moment. That is still within his comfortable temperature range, but low enough so that the risk of an infestation is minimal. In the meantime, Cambiar is also dead tired but still busy on the parka, and we already have our next event as a meteorite crashes down on the ice sheet. This right here is just a sandstone meteorite, so it won't help us much. After all, sandstone is available in abundance all across the map. Now it is late afternoon, Cambiar is still making the parka, but Cobra is well rested, and that means even though it's a bit cold outside, I have a job for him. The Muffalo herd is still roaming around the outside of our base. A few of the animals have already succumbed to their injuries. However, there are still quite a few left, and so we now have time for target practice. With a level 3 shooting skill, Cobra is not the most proficient shooter at the moment. Especially over longer distances, the assault rifle is also not the most accurate weapon. Still, he manages to land a few hits, and so another Muffalo is injured now and could possibly bleed out soon. We can also see here Cambiar has successfully managed to finish the parka. He is heading off to bed now to get some well-earned sleep, while Cobra will of course equip the new parka immediately. It is of normal quality, so it should last him for a while, and with that I would now say Cobra is well equipped for life out on the ice sheet. Now, for some reason I had Cobra drop his button-down shirt at this point. He is going to re-equip that in just a few moments. Much more important at this point, however, we have another trader coming in, so let's see whether or not Cobra can strike his first deal. Now, as you can see, after acquiring Cobra, we are pretty low on silver at the moment, so we are selling a few things here, most notably another 169 units of human leather. That will bring our reserves down to only 200, however, it will also grow our treasury, and I would argue that is a bit more important at the moment. Apart from that, we are also selling a human leather button-down shirt that is already marked as tattered apparel, and that's it. Cobra completes his first trade as we earned 312 silver. And with the trade complete, I think it is now time we finally finish off the herd of muffalos. Most of the animals are already downed or dead. A single muffalo, however, is still wandering around, so let's quickly take care of that. Alright, it took a few moments, but here we are, the final Muffalo is down as well. We will not spend any time here running from Muffalo to beat them to death. Instead, we will once again opt for the cruel approach and let the injuries take care of themselves. Most of the Muffalos here are dead already, and those who are not will bleed out soon enough. Here we also have Cobra now re-equipping his shirt, and now that we have a colonist running around at night, it's also a good idea to close Cambiar's bedroom door, otherwise he will get disturbed in his sleep, and that causes an unnecessary mood penalty. Now, as you might have been able to see, food is a bit of a problem at the moment, both for our two colonists as well as for our huskies. At the moment, Cobra is also not the most skilled cook in the world. However, he does have one flame of passion, and long term I would actually like him to become the colony's cook. So he will now get his first bit of practice at the stove making pemmican, which is actually also what Cambiar grabs to eat immediately after waking up, because yes, we do not have a single simple meal left. And so while Cobra is cooking away, Cambiar is getting to work on Cobra's bedroom. The thing isn't exactly spacious at the moment, so to get us started we'll make it slightly bigger. That will at least avoid the negative cramped interior thought, and to also increase the room's beauty stat we will smooth the stone floor. That should already make it borderline comfortable, at least for the moment. Now Cambiar runs off to haul the Muffalo corpses back into the base. Cobra meanwhile has finished making pemmican for the day and will now once again head off to bed. Now, not all of the Muffalo corpses are inside of the base yet, but food is still a concern. Therefore, the next cooking shift goes to Cambiar, who once again makes simple meals out of rice, however, a few more this time. Cobra at the moment actually prefers to eat pemmican. That might be because he's classified as a tribalist in the game. However, once he ages up, I think that should change, and from that point onwards we will require a healthy amount of meals. Now 10 simple meals are finished and that should last us for a few days. Cobra is also awake again and starts hauling Muffalo corpses, while with the beginning of night both Cambiar and the huskies have gone to sleep. In the early morning hours then, all Muffalo corpses are hauled back into the base and everyone is awake again, and both Cambiar and Cobra are being productive. Cambiar is making some pants for Cobra here, because the ones that Cobra is wearing are already tattered apparel. Taking them off, however, would leave Cobra naked, so that is not really an option either. Cobra himself then is busy butchering some more wargs. I have a slightly larger cooking session planned. Our rice should also be ready to harvest soon, so we'll do some additional butchering here to prepare for that. Sadly though, things don't really remain all that peaceful for long. In the late morning hours we have our first raid of the episode, as a sizable group of Mechanoids arrives on the ice sheet. Now we have 2 Scythers and 3 Centipedes in the group here, and that is actually a fairly convenient composition, as the Scythers are much faster, and so they will rush ahead and very likely get themselves killed quickly. The Centipedes on the other hand are a serious threat, as 3 of them will very likely be enough to breach our defenses. Now we have certain security measures in place, and now we also have 2 colonists to help out, but still it could be a good idea to do as much damage as we can before they reach the base, which is why we have Cambiar man the mortar gun. And while the Scythers find a quick end in our traps, the mortar lands just shy of the Centipedes, so 2 enemies down, 3 to go, and those 3 have not been injured yet. The second shot from the mortar then goes wide and misses as well, and with that our enemies are now getting too close for the mortar to reach them on the next shot, which is why we are now preparing our other defenses as Cambiar switches on the turrets. Both Cambiar and Cobra then get into position as we anxiously wait for our attackers to arrive. Now the first few traps here are already disabled thanks to the Scythers. This will now make things a bit easier for the Centipedes, but even with those few extra traps I doubt it would have made much of a difference. The Centipedes then slowly make their way through our traps, and so far it seems like all of them are making it through, and yes indeed, here we are with 3 enemies inside of the base. Now we are dealing with charge blasters and inferno cannons here, especially the latter are already showing their effect by setting a few things on fire, and despite the weapons being somewhat inaccurate, that also includes Cambiar. Now I know I played it a bit risky here, luckily though Cambiar did not end up with any permanent scars. Still, for the moment things are getting a bit risky, so we will move both of our colonists out of the line of fire and make it a 3-on-3 turret versus centipede fight. Our turrets are taking quite the beating though, so our colonists cannot stay safe for long. So we will now have them re-enter the fight, of course still behind cover, and that actually has a positive impact almost immediately, as a volley from Cambiar's charge rifle takes the first centipede out of the fight. Both of the colonists and our turrets now focus fire on the one behind that, and just a few seconds later that one is downed as well. So we are now left with only one single enemy, and I think 3 turrets and a colonist should be able to handle that, so Cambiar can already head back into the base to get his burns patched up, while Cobra holds position outside. Now the last centipede here was firing at the turrets for now, but it has changed targets again and is now firing at Cobra, so we are once again conveniently moving him out of the line of fire. We don't really need 2 injured colonists. The inferno cannons have a nasty habit of dealing permanent scars, and well, we don't really want to cripple our investment this early. Interestingly enough, however, the centipede is pulling back here, which is why Cobra unfortunately has to step out again, because ideally the centipede needs to remain within the line of fire of all of our 3 turrets. Cambiar meanwhile is patched up and ready to re-enter combat, and Cambiar's re-emergence on the battlefield decides things in our favor. The third and final centipede drops to the floor, the fight is won, and we have once again survived the day. However, our base, especially our turrets, have taken quite a bit of damage, and so Cambiar and Cobra spent the next few hours doing repair work. At this point, however, I was immensely thankful for having 2 colonists instead of 1. Yes, the centipedes did a ton of damage, but our 2 colonists actually had things patched up and running again fairly quickly. At the end of the day then, both of our colonists head off to bed, tired and one of them also injured. However, Cambiar's bandaging work seems to have been solid, as in the early morning hours he is already fully healed again. We then start off the next day with a cargo drop. Randy Random sure knows how to make up for his raids. Inside of the drop pod we only find 16 units of hyperweave. However, hyperweave might just be the best available clothing material in the game, so even the 16 units here, which will of course be hauled back by our huskies, are worth quite a bit. The morning continues as Cambiar finishes the pants for Cobra, who then of course immediately proceeds to put them on. So life is slowly improving for the latest addition to our colony, even though both of our colonists once again spent most of the day outside doing repairs. We rejoin the colony now in the late afternoon. The last 2 traps are currently being rearmed, and here we are, the aftermath of the raid is dealt with, and our small base is completely operational again. Cambiar now takes care of the remaining butchering work, Cobra meanwhile is harvesting some more rice, and we can slowly start wrapping this episode up. Now, I am aware of the fact that we did not open up the Ancient Danger today. I have read all of your comments on the last episode though, and yes, we are definitely going to do that soon. The somewhat unexpected arrival of our second colonist, however, that kind of mixed things up a bit, so I hope you understand that we had to get all of that sorted out first. Regarding our second colonist though, I would be interested to know what you think we should do about his name. I am more than willing to change his name from Cobra to something else, if that is what you want to see. So please leave a comment down below if you want me to change his name, or if you think we should stick with Cobra. At this point, I also want to give a quick shout out to all the new patrons who have joined since the last time we did this. So a big thank you goes out to Saulius Automitis, to 11 Tackles, Kevin Korsbaki, Justin Potoski, Dovnam, Owen, Megan, T-Size, Michael Trollan, Spencer Salomons, Alvaro Aguilar, Christian Wilkins, Andrew Jones, Samuel Schickelgruber, and Jared. Thank you guys all so much for your support. You just helped me reach my second Patreon goal of $150 a month. This is way beyond what I expected when I launched the Patreon, and I think especially this series right here played a huge part in that. And with that, we now make the cut in today's episode. As always, if you liked the video, then I would be happy if you could leave a thumbs up. And if you want to support the channel further, then you can either subscribe if you haven't already, or you can of course join the growing list of patrons and support the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.